Alright, welcome to my mansion. First of all, I would like to show you this. So I'm drying them. You know, that's like stuff rendering, doesn't really matter. It's not super clean in here. Nor does it have to be, I believe. So I was talking to you about an exercise that I wanted to give to you, and it's like red, the root chakra, right? So first of all, something I can recommend is stop eating bread, stop consuming foods with yeast in it. Do that. I'm gonna take that off. And I'm going to show to you, right, so this is like a plank, right? And what you want is, you want your arms to be like tree trunks. And so you're learning, because this trains your whole body, especially your shoulders, because when you attempt to be a man, you have to shoulder the weight of the world, right? Including your own. So try to hold this position as long as possible, and you know, if you want to see, so my arms try to be like straight, and then I push out. This I push out, and then I can feel this like here, it's quite a lot of strain here, but you just try to hold it, and this puts a lot of pressure onto this as well. So you probably have to work up to this point where you can do this comfortably. And then what I do with my butt, right, so I try to keep my back straight. I don't really know what I do with my head. You know, you just look like comfortable. And I have managed this, the longest was maybe 4 minutes. It's probably best to just do it until you can't anymore. But I'm usually then too lazy. And you can, for example, I don't know if you're an active cannabis smoker, but what you can do is, when you smoke cannabis, instead of watching a movie, you do this instead. Because what I have realized is that smoking cannabis relaxes you, which makes exercises such as this a bit easier. So cannabis can show you a place where this is easy, but then you still have to work for it. Otherwise, you're just gonna get weaker and weaker smoking, because then you're dependent on it again. So don't let the substance use you, use the substance. You see, I don't want to do it now, because it feels like effort. And I haven't done it in ages, so it's quite uncomfortable. Like everything's like tight. Everything, including my lower back. And then you have to try to push yourself. Right? That's uncomfortable. This is discomfort. But discomfort makes you strong. Like the right kind of discomfort. And I'm starting to feel a bit hot. Like my muscles, you know, I have just eaten sugar in the last weeks. See? So I have to, and then I will stretch a bit. I really haven't done this, like I'm really tight everywhere, everything hurts, my shoulders. And if you carry such things around with you for the rest of your life, you know, you will look like most people, just like, and then you will get like stiff joints. And then they say to you, that's how old age looks like. And then I say, no, that's how neglect looks like. And then they're gonna, you know, the surgeon will come and cut stuff away, Because he says, well, you know, that's all they can do. You see, this is shit. To do these kind of exercises, right, you really have to like pull into it. Which is, at one point, you know, I have to admit it, I will probably get a yoga mattress because I really want to stretch into these exercises. So in your neck and stuff, there's a lot of fear. A lot of fear. And if this like hurts, like here, it really hurts. Because I'm often like my chest is closing up. I'm like, right? I'm like curling up into like a... And the problem is I got to points where I was like highly motivated, but I also thought, I don't manage. With all these emotional things that I'm dealing with, you know, I have trouble to manage to also do yoga, right? Because it's for me already enough to balance my emotional state. But now I feel like it's getting a bit easier. Right? Work is getting a bit easier. I have worked so much stuff off my chest. Through the content I produced, I have transformed so much of that stuff, you know, that now I'm not as heavy anymore. I'm quite firm. I'm quite strong, right? And I haven't really done any kind of exercising in forms of, you know, I didn't do calisthenics anymore. And I stopped running. But I also knew why, because, you know, I was energetically running. I was working my ass off to get out of here. And now I'm basically on the verge of having realized this. As you might see, you know, that's just the feeling I have. It's not just a feeling, it's the feeling I have. I'm about to get out of here. And probably when you're listening to this, I may be out of here already, so I'm really grateful for all your support, you know, and I'm gonna be sure to pay you back through the work that I'm doing. So thank you. And of course, also thank myself for being such a courageously, like motivating prick. But you know, that's all I can tell you. If you're interested, today I recorded an episode for my podcast, and it's called A Dog Human. It's number 147. So whatever you do, you know, this is also building up your tolerance to hold the pressure. And with my legs, I've already done this to a great extent with slacklining. So my legs are a bit like tree trunks. I don't, you know, easily tire. And that's what also gives me, you know, I can stand for long periods of time where most people already get tired. Because this lower back, you know, you can also do things like this. I'm just telling you, be careful in the beginning. Be really careful in the beginning, simply because this is a very sensitive area. So you do stretching like that, you know, just gently. Just remember, when you see me do it, I'm often a bit rough, but I also have the muscles already. Like, I've done training for years. Like, you can see it, my body is still kind of fit, even though I haven't trained in a while. But this is like... And this helps you then to do all this emotional weightlifting. Digging for your emotional shit and then bringing it to the surface. That's like heavy duty work. You need that kind of warrior mentality. So you need to maintain a certain level of fitness. That's how I see it. And sometimes you will realize you won't have the energy, but you will then have energy for other things. Until there's like energy is flowing better and better. So I was also thinking about, because you may have realized that at maybe video number 4 or 5, it was a bit stocking. Because when I rendered it, because I don't know, the camera I use, it splits up the videos into chapters. So when the video is like 20 minutes long, you'll have 2 4GB pieces. So I have to render them together, and my laptop is quite slow. And so I was getting a bit impatient that it's taking too long. But then I realized, I can just use that time in between. Instead of sitting around doing nothing, I can just do stuff like this, do breath work while my laptop is rendering. But one reason why why that video is so stocky, because I thought, just render it with 15 frames per second, because then there are not as many frames to render, and then it's faster. But, the lesson was, don't do it. Because yeah, it's faster, but the quality is less good. So always try to put in the time and the work and put in the effort. You can see in my work, I've put a lot of effort into it. A lot of effort, a lot of time. But I also push myself to get through it, to reach new heights. And you have to train your body. Body, mind, and soul. There is a series on my podcast called Discipline. Discipline of mind, body, and soul. And I suggest you listen to this. And if you have trouble finding it, you go to my website, christopher-reusch.com/podcast. And in the podcast section, a little way down, under the, this is spiritual advice from a Barbarian Lunatic stuff, there is a part where it says, there's a link to a file called podcastepisodes.pdf. You look at that file, you will find it's a complete listing of all the episodes that already have been recorded. And all the episodes that have been already released, because they are all scheduled. All the episodes that have been released also have a link. So you click on that, and there you can find then Discipline, right? The episode's called Discipline. I don't know when it was. I think it was sometime, you just check it out. You just look through it, By now I have recorded a total of 200 episodes, and 148 have been released at the end of this year. So by the time you were hearing this, we are maybe at, a total of 150 episodes available. So there's a lot of things, and if you want, you can just start at episode number 1, and then you work yourself up. That's what I would suggest to you. You start at episode number 1, which is called Perspective, I believe. And then you work yourself up, because then you are working yourself through the phases that I've gone through, and you just see where you end. Because otherwise it may be a bit hard to just tune in, but it doesn't really matter. But I think would be a good way of doing it. Because my insights, they also build up on each other, right? So I maybe have had an opinion in the past, like, right, in 2021, I had opinions that have changed over time. And so I believe that the opinions I used to have in the very beginning of my podcast are closer to what you may understand at the moment, depending on who you are and where you are, right? Sometimes it's better to begin at the beginning and then work yourself up. And right, there's a lot of material. I mean, just think about it, 140 roughly episodes, each of them mostly an hour, some maybe even longer. That gives you a lot of material to listen to. And if that's not enough and you understand German, there's also my German podcast at the very bottom of that podcast section. So that's just something I figured out, right? I mean, I just thought, what can I do while my laptop is rendering for hours now? Well, I can record episodes for my podcast, for my German one. I can start planning that one out, and then I'm done with that as well. You see, sometimes I'm a bit astonished how much energy I have available. But you see, when it's there, why shouldn't I use it? I couldn't possibly sleep now. I couldn't possibly sleep now because I'm so riled up with stuff that I want to do, stuff that I feel like I need to be doing. I'm like charged, I'm like boom, like a rocket. But I haven't always been like this. That part was always there, but it was buried under a lot of stuff. Like a lot of stuff was like weighing me down, like pushing me down. And so all that emotional weightlifting, like boom, energy, like quite important. And you need to train your body. If you want to meditate, you have to have a strong physique. But it also means you have to get your emotions out. You have to get them out because now they're in here. That's what makes you heavy. You're not terrible. It's just your emotions that make you heavy. And that's quite an uncomfortable process because if you want to get your emotions out of your system, you have to feel them once again. And that's the heavy lifting. Because you have to feel the emotions that you were pressing down all this time. And that's the really heavy part. And I use psychedelics to help me do that. Also coffee and stuff, right? Because sometimes I have like so much fear inside of me, then I drink a coffee, like whoosh, it pushes me past the fear. But if I don't know what my job is yet, or where I want to get, just drinking coffee isn't really going to help me. Because it's going to charge me up, but then what do I do with it? Run against the wall, But I want to climb the wall. So you have to learn how to do that. So if you say, right, for example, maybe I want to go hiking today, but you are clinging to the house. What can you do then? You eat something. I don't know, maybe pancakes or something, I don't know. But you eat them because you want to leave. So you need the extra energy to like whoosh, push you out of the house. Or you smoke a joint. And instead of like sinking into the couch, you smoke it to leave. So I would suggest to you, you start smoking pure. Or you mix it with white sage. And try to get like natural stuff. Don't get this weird like lemon cheesecake shit. Like, don't get this highly modified. When you're in Amsterdam, there is a shop I forgot how it's called, but when you're in Amsterdam, you can probably ask people. There's like buiten weed, right? It's like buiten is like outside weed. So you go talk to people, you know, there's like this Thailandish outside grown weed. This is better because it's more natural. Don't use this kind of amnesia. It's too strong for what you are trying to do. And better than going into the city and smoking in a coffee shop, better than doing this is going to the ocean in winter. You smoke one and then you go swimming. You go swimming. That's what I did. And that's what I'm gonna do again when I'm back in Amsterdam. I'm gonna go to the beach a lot. Gonna smoke maybe, or do mushrooms, I don't know. And then I'm gonna, you know, I don't recommend that to people. I'm crazy, you understand this. I'm really mad. So don't try to imitate me unless you feel safe doing so. Because there are people that drown doing stuff like this. And if you want to lift too much shit out of yourself, you know, you may drown in that. You know, I've told you, there are people who take psychedelics on their own and suddenly they cut themselves open with knives because they lose themselves in this kind of I'm a Viking trip. You know, you don't want to hurt yourself. Because what if you cut yourself, you cut open an artery and you bleed to death? Never take a sharp object to cut you. Never do that, please. That's just, you know, you have to resist these kinds of voices in your head that are trying to tell you to harm you. Because you deserve to be loved. You deserve to be treated with kindness and gentle. And you are the very person in charge of bringing this change about. Which means if people treat you disrespectful, you say no to them. You say, leave me alone. Keep toxic people out of your life. Keep people out of your life that look down on me. Say no. And, you know, never harm anyone. You know, the way Ramdas says it, never put anyone out of your heart. You know, you can shout, you can scream, you can rage. Don't physically hurt them. And don't put them out of your heart. You know, that's like two very easy rules. If you think you hate somebody, try to understand. Usually it's guilt and fear of having hurt somebody and shame, right? So just try to understand why things happened the way they happened and then go about your business. Figure it out. Figure it out. I'm sure you can do it. You know, I've managed. You know, and I can't say that the things I did, you know, were really pretty. You know, I have my own scars to show. Like, and I'm sure there's some people that have scars to show of how I treated them. But that's my weight to carry. So I've accepted it, you know. I'm not pretty, and yes I am, right? So we're all pretty and ugly and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really matter. Just do what feels good for you. You know, I made a conscious decision to disable comments under my videos because I want this to be a safe place. I know a lot of people, they spend time commenting on videos and then other people come in and then they start attacking these people for spelling mistakes, or they say, well, I hate your opinion, you know. I can take this shit. If people email me, you don't know anything about that. You know, that's something different. But if somebody watches my videos, this is kind of a safe place for them. And I don't want them, you know, to maybe appreciate my work and then they comment on it. And then somebody else comes and gives them shit for it, because I don't want that. Because some people, you know, who comment on videos, they may be in a very vulnerable place, and so they don't deserve to be treated like this. So all I can give you is, you know, this is like my space. Feel free, right, to feel a bit like you can rest here. You know, sometimes I say things that sound a bit tough, but just work on it. Don't take things personal. Like, just realize I have my own shit to deal with. And sometimes I say things in a way that, you know, gives you something to like work on. To toughen you up a bit. Because some people are really sensitive because of their emotional trauma, and whatever anybody says, it's like, ah! You know, you have to work yourself out of this. You know, work yourself out of the victim role, but don't become the attacker all the time. So do stuff like this, which improves your stamina. You know, you start maybe counting from 20 to 0, and you see if you can do that. Like, and then you keep, and maybe you want to start with, you can also hold it like this. Anyway, this is it. One more video this month. If you have trouble understanding how to work with my content, I suggest you go back to the last video of the year, which was released on the 29th of December. And you watch that because it's, you know, it's saying this is how you work with my content. All right, cheers.